Welcome BE3. Again, Jeff Beggins and
Mike Puma. We haven't done this in a while.
we've been slacking the last couple weeks.
Pretty
We've
much.
been busy with a lot of other things, but it's no excuse. But we're back, so we missed you. And today, I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't want to talk about, and it's not comfortable, and it's not easy, but it's relevant and it's important. And we do say that there is no market.
Correct.
But there are multiple pockets of markets right now that are having some problems.
Yep.
And let's talk about the markets, because in the sales meetings this morning here that I was doing, we kind of joked and we talked about real people real estate versus non-real people real estate. And in this marketplace, real people real estate is a price point where real people buy and sell because of life. It's the marriages, it's the babies, it's the divorces, it's the job transfer, it's to lose the job, it's the health issues, it's normal. And the normal price point, what's the average price point in the U.S. is about 250, 280.
Yeah.
Right? So in these markets, it's your 250s to your 450s. That's your normal house, right? Yep. That market's always going to do well because it's driven by life. Now, what other little markets are doing right now that we're seeing dramatically in a couple different markets here is total shift. And a total shift from a seller market to a buyer market. And why? And how do we know that? And it's a interesting situation because we have a couple of properties, and this I'm going to talk about non-real people markets for a second here, because the non-real people market, we've got one specific one. I'll give you a good example. One here on the water, it's about $1.2 million, and it's a tear down. Okay, so normal real people don't have to buy a piece of property for $1.2 million to tear it down, to throw another $1.5 million at it to build a $3 million house. There's no need behind that purchase.
Correct.
Right. And that's the issue with some of these markets and if you're dependent on a non-real people market, you need to really pay attention to what we're talking about today, because the shift is affecting some of those pockets significantly right now.
Yeah.
And where the buyers aren't willing to pay what the sellers really want, and the sellers are refusing to understand what drives the market. And what drives the market is a buyer, because what is a real market?
What the buyer's willing to pay.
What a buyer's willing to pay. So even if you want $1.3 million and you've got offers at $1.1 million, if you got multiple offers at $1.1 million and you still want $1.3 million, what's the market?
Market's $1.1 million.
Right. So it doesn't mean you have to sell your house.
Correct.
But you have to realize that if you're going to sell your house, you're only going to get $1.1 million, or you're going to wait for $1.3 million. And that's the danger I see. In this particular case was interesting because the sellers in this specific house want to buy another house, and they know the house that they want to buy. And the house that they want to buy, they put an offer in the very beginning in the high 900s, right? Because they're scaling down, right, to the $1 million house. And so the scale down to $1 million house was there, and then they didn't buy that one because this one wasn't sold yet. So they let that one go. And this is about 3 months ago.
Yep.
And what do you think's happened over the last 3 months?
They haven't found anything.
They haven't found anything.
The market's continued to shift a little bit.
Market's shifted. That house that they were willing to pay the $950 for is still on the market 3 months later. So what do you think their offer is going to be on that house now? Is it going to be $950 again?
No, of course not.
Nope. Is it going to be $900? Nope.
Nope.
Is it going to be in the 8s? Maybe. They're going to try in the high 7s to see if they can get that piece of property.
Yeah.
Because they're seeing stagnation and a price point that's showing that they're going to get a better deal. And now there's zero urgency because it's been there for 3 months, which means it's going to be there next week. So, honey, let's go take that cruise. We'll see it when we get back. Right?
But at the same time, their house could be experiencing the same shift, right? And so,
but they don't want to see that part of the equation.
Of course not, right? But that's the reality, and I think we've had this conversation quite a bit, but it typically balances out. The only people who truly can take advantage of a slowing market is someone who either has a ton of cash sitting in there that can buy real low and wait and sit there and hold it until it goes up, or someone who's truly downsizing, who's going to be able to sell their house here, right, and then just doesn't need as much, so they can take that cash and put it away and buy something much less expensive But outside of those two scenarios, it tends to balance out. You're going to get a little less for your house, but you're also going to pay a little less typically for the house that you're buying.
That's exactly right. So these people do want to sell their house. We've got 3 people putting offers on it at the same price. So that is the true definition of market.
That is it.
And so it's just a question of whether or not they want to accept it, which I think they're going to have to come to terms with. You either stay there or you accept what the market is right now. And then this was an interesting twist that we started talking about, because we know what they paid for their house. So let's just use hypothetical numbers. Let's say they paid $1 million for the house a couple years ago. So first of all, our job has to be to call out the total BS in that statement, because they didn't pay $1 million for this house. And a lot of this, we talk about changing the basis point, because people never change their mind. What do we always say? They make new decisions based on new information. So the conversation's shifting with the seller and saying, you didn't pay $1 million for this house. You put 20% down to purchase a piece of property. So you put $200,000 down, and you have a mortgage of, let's say, $7,000 a month, right? All in. But if you only have 2 years into your mortgage at $7,000 a month, how much of that's interest?
A lot.
Like most of it, like all of it.
I'm pretty much.
So call it $6,000 a month is in interest, right? So what do you get to do with interest?
Write it off.
Write it off. Okay, so now we're changing the basis point into an investment strategy of saying, okay, you really took $200,000 of your money, you put it down on an asset, and you paid $7,000 a month basically to rent to live into a house for $7,000 a month. You got to write off $6,000 a month of that against your income. So you took the asset that benefit for the last 2 years.
Yep. So
you have to really look on your cash on cash situation. It's easy to say, oh, I sold it for $1 million, I'm not going to sell it for less. Bullcrap. You did not buy it for $1 million. You bought it for $200,000. Right. And basically you get to write off $6,000 a month for the last 2 years. So let's change the basis point of the discussion to what the reality of it is. And now you're going to go buy this other house that you were willing to pay $150,000 more for, that you can now get for $150,000 less. So when you start to change your mindset and the way that you're thinking about your current asset, which is really what it is, it's not your home, it's an asset when you're selling it. And you're like, all right, I really put down $200,000. I got $6,000 a month in write-offs. I waited, the market's softening. I'm going to go buy this one and get $150,000 less on that property, which is really not really $150,000. It's $30,000 might have to not put down. So that I thought was pretty interesting, because the name of the game right now is being very, very direct and very, very blunt. Okay. And we're doing it with the agents. You need to be doing it with your buyers and your sellers. And the conversation with the seller is, if you don't have multiple offers and offers on your property, you've been on the market for a month or two, you are rejected by the marketplace. Your offer price is rejected. It's not selling, and that's not what your house is worth. So either stay there, rent it out, or wait for the market to shift. The problem is, with a shifting market, and a lot of these markets right now, it's shifting not in the right direction. So if it's only worth $1.1 million now, if 3 other properties come on the market, then it's not worth $1.1 million anymore, probably. Right. Now it's going to go down to $1.05 million. And then does it go to $1 million? And then you're like, man, I should have taken $1.1 million. And it really just depends on where you're moving to. So I think it's important to sometimes change that basis point of the discussion off of the purchase price big number to how much they actually put down and what they actually made and what they actually paid. And most importantly, where they're moving to. What are interest rates right now? And we're time stamping this a little bit, but they're at super ridiculous lows.
Yep.
Like over the last 16 months is the lowest interest rates have ever been, right? Nationwide right now.
Yeah.
So the point is, take advantage of not only the price softening on your new purchase, but the lower interest rates right now, which amortize that over the life of the home you're going to stay into it. You're making money. So we have to sometimes get out of the emotions and get into the logical side of these sales, and get out of the emotional part of these purchases too, and get going.
Well, I think a lot of it though comes down to the agents setting the proper expectation and doing their job up front. Because how many times have we met with a seller or potential seller, had a conversation with them, especially in the higher end market? They believe the house is worth 1.5. We're coming in there saying, no, this house is worth 1.2, 1.3. And some agent though is going to be willing to walk in there and be like, yeah, it's worth 1.5, 1.6. I can get you 1.9.
Yeah, look at that, right? Marble bathtub. That's easily
right, because they don't care about the actual consumer at all. They care about getting the listing, getting their sign out front, and they'll worry about having that conversation with you about bringing the price down after 6 months or so, when your asset has been tied up on the market for that long and you're sitting there dragging your feet. And a lot of it just comes down to expectation and setting that up front and being honest and transparent and having your client's best interests at heart and understanding and having that rational conversation with them. Because the other side of this is, hey, what is your carrying cost? You can afford that now. What's your plan? If you had to wait 2-3 years for the market to go back up to get the price that you want, would that be something you want to do? Because then there's things to consider where, how old's the home now? Right. Because now it's 2 to 3 years older. How old's your roof? Is older, and how old's your AC? How old's your plumbing? What are all those things? When do you plan on retiring? Oh, you're going to retire? Can you still afford $7,000 a month after you? Those are conversations that need to be had, but be their advisor
before you hit the market.
Right. But if you approach it as, I'm advising, right? I'm not here to sell your home. Right. I'm here to advise you on should you sell your home, right? Yep. And that's all based on your current need, your mindset, where you want to be in the future. Like, I had this conversation with my parents just recently. My parents are selling their house up. We're going to sell their house up in Virginia. Yeah. We had a long talk, and I said, do you need to sell your house? They'd already bought the new one. Right. Closed on it 5 days ago. Yeah. I said, do you need to sell the house on the lake? Well, no. Then don't. Right? Why?
Yeah, can you rent it?
Yeah, they're going to rent it now. So why would you ever do that, right? It's a brand new house. It's 2 years old. Yep. So you're not going to have, let's say in 5 years you want to liquidate. Okay. Well, now you got a house that's appreciated over the last 5 years. You've collected rent. You're going to end up making money on the rent a little bit. And you still have a new house. It's not going to have any roof issues or any electrical issues.
Well, now you have a 7-year-old house, and you run the market risk of the market being in the crapper by then. But that's all it comes to a point. But if you can rent it and cover the payments, then you shouldn't care. So like, to your point, never sell anything unless you have a better use for the money.
I asked my dad, I said, well, do you want to be back on the lake at some point? Well, yeah. Okay. So then worst case, you sell the other house and you move back out to the house on the lake. Like, it's just, but again, it's having that conversation with them, not forcing or pushing them in one direction or the other. Yep. And a lot of that just becomes the ability to separate yourself from the outcome. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They're in their back of their head, they're going, well, that's my commission. Right. And not thinking about what.
Now, and it goes back to the lifetime value of a customer is what?
130 grand.
130 grand. Right. So every person you talk with is worth $130,000 for you. You've already banked the commission. It's coming to you because you connect with them and you advise them, you have their back. Right.
If you treat them right.
If you treat them right. So it goes back to having the strong conversations up front, and please do not put a property on the market if the sellers do not have to sell their house. They're cluttering up the inventory, they're screwing up the marketplace, and they're aggravating themselves and you and the buyers buying public. Because if they're not motivated, and then what are they doing there? Get them out. So don't let them hit the market until they're actually serious about selling. Follow up with them, incubate them, get ready, but don't hit the market until you're ready. And if you're working with a seller right now and they don't know where they're moving to, you're wasting your time, because they're not going to accept a real offer because they don't know where they're going to go. And their little drunk monkeys are going to kick in and say, wait a second, where am I going? I'm not going to take that offer. I don't know where I'm going yet. Until they say, oh man, that's the house I'm moving to. Let's go sell this one. Let's move. Yep. That's a whole different mindset.
Yep. Motivation matters big time.
Don't put them on the market, guys, until they're ready to sell. Right. And then price them aggressively to sell to get top market, but don't overprice them to confuse the inventory, guys. It's changing. To that point, buyers. I'm talking with a bunch of agents today, and the buyers are taking longer to make decisions. They're looking at more properties. Why? Because more properties are coming on the market, and therefore the urgency lacks, and their ability or necessity to pull the trigger isn't there. So if you're working with a buyer right now, and it's the 3 things I always say: do not treat a buyer like a buyer unless these 3 things are happening. Number 1, who are you using for your mortgage, right? And give me their name and number. I'm calling them because I want to know everything about the loan program they're putting you in, how much cash you're going to put in. Does that allow you to take an HOA or a CDD or a condo fee, or what kind of insurance? Can you do flood insurance? Can you do not? Can you do earthquake insurance? All those things factor into what I can show you. So if I'm clearly on the page with you and your lender, now I know the box in which you can buy, right? Yep. And if you can afford between $380 and $415, I now know my box. Now my job is to show you everything that sits in that price point and find the best property that suits your lifestyle. Talking to an agent this morning, she put 120 miles on her car yesterday, showing a ton of houses, right? And it happens, right? I get it, but it shouldn't happen, guys. Stop it, right? You've got an iPad, you've got a phone, you've got a Wi-Fi, you've got an office, or you've got a living room or something. Go sit there, open up the properties, and if I know that your box is between 385 and 415, I'm going to show you every house that's on the market. I'm going to put little hearts on the ones that you like. I'm going to narrow down the 187 possibilities down to 12. We're going to whittle those 12 down to 4. We're going to go look at those 4. We're going to pick one, and then I'm going to work to buy it for you. Right? But if you're not ready to buy yet, why would I even go through that exercise?
Well, and keep in mind with buyers too, how dangerous it can become when you start showing them that many properties, because now confusion and overwhelming sets in, right? Think about going to the Cheesecake Factory. Have you ever looked at that menu? Menu's like 37 pages long, right? Like I look through that thing, I'm like, oh my God, do I want that? I don't know. Maybe I could go. And by the end of it, you don't even know what you want to eat, right?
I was here for dinner, but where's the breakfast?
You end up just getting a salad because you're scared. Or you walk into Chick-fil-A and there's like 7 things, right? Much easier to make that decision. So be smarter, and not that you don't want to show it to them, but at the same time, set your buyer up for success, because you're not doing anyone any good by sitting there showing them 50 properties, right? You're just not. Because I guarantee you that if you qualify them correctly and ask the right questions about their lifestyle and where they want to be and what they like to do, you'd be able to eliminate a lot of those simply by, hey, I know you said that you're in this price point. And yes, there are homes out here in this price point, but you also said you want to be within a couple minutes of Target. You're a 15-minute drive to the closest thing out here. So we're going to exclude all of this. Like all of those types of conversations need to be had and simplified.
This was funny this morning. We were talking about, this one agent was kind of bitching about how they're showing houses all over the place, right? And this is in the Tampa Bay area. So there was Riverview versus Safety Harbor, right? Or it was actually West Chase versus Riverview as an example for the local guys will get that. And I said, what's the difference between West Chase and Riverview? And the answer was, I don't know. And I said, here's the real answer. There's not a freaking thing different between West Chase and Riverview, because each of them has a Chili's and an Outback and an Applebee's and 4 McDonald's and 3 Publix and CVS and Walgreens and a dog groomer and a vet and 14 nail places, and they all look the same because the strip center is exactly the same, right? So they're both going to be traffic. They're both the same distance from the airport. You can get to the games. You can go do the things. You can get the same damn thing, right? And if you don't think that's the case, let's say here you go. You just got a job transfer to Chicago, and then you're going to go on Zillow and you're going to go look at houses in Chicago. Courtney is, and she's going to say, "Ooh, I like this house," right, tonight. And you don't know that that's in Oakberry Hills, right? And then the other one she saw is in shiny Manor Lane, right? And they're 30 minutes apart from each other. But guess what? There's an Applebee's and a Chili's and an Outback and a vet and 13 nail salons and everything along in both of those neighborhoods together. So where is the difference? You can't get mad at somebody who doesn't know your market. You need to understand that they don't know their market and become an advisor and sort through the crap and narrow down. What do you do? What do you like to do at night? What do you do on the weekends? Yep. Where's your job? What's your traffic flow? Do your kids go to private school? Do you homeschool? Do they go to public? What do you do, right? Do you kayak? Do you bike ride? Do you hunt? What do you do? Yeah. Right? And then that's going to decide if you're going to live in Oakberry Manor or the other one. But you've got to understand, buyers in the looking stage are aggravating as hell, right? Because they don't know what they want. They're fantastic when they know that I want to live in Shady Acres and I have these 3 homes to show. And if you happen to be the lucky agent on the open house that one day, that's 18 months into their search process, you get that deal. That was a good luck. But the reality of it is they talk to 17 agents along the way. So stop wasting your time and get them to the point where they're ready. Now, incubate them until they're ready to buy, but don't waste your time with them until they're ready to buy. Right. And I'm not saying don't spend any time with them. I'm saying don't waste your time with them, because if you and Courtney go up to Chicago this weekend and your job doesn't start until September, somebody should show you these neighborhoods. I'm not saying they should not, but you don't need to see 42 houses, right? Because those houses aren't going to be available. But you're going to know, I want to live in this neighborhood, in this school district, and this price point, and this is the area. Then now you zero into that one area until you're ready. But that agent should know who you're working with for your lender, should know your price point, should know everything that's going on.
And they should know the areas. If you do not know your market, if you want to work a very particular spot or niche within your market, then stay in your lane and have the ability to refer out if you have a client looking in an area that you are not the authority in, or become the authority, right? You need to know everything about the Tampa Bay DMA if you are going to try and work the entire Tampa Bay DMA.
Which is impossible.
Which is impossible. So what the right thing to do is say, listen, I am going to know Brandon, Florida, inside and out.
Which is still impossible.
Everything, right? Which is still be very difficult. But I'm going to learn everything about it, all the schools, the local little leagues, everything about it. And then if I have a client that's looking in Clearwater, I'm going to go find an agent that knows everything in Clearwater, and I'm going to take a referral fee because there's no possible way that I can do a good job unless I'm going to stop what I'm doing, forget about everything else, and go learn Clearwater, right, for that one client. And if you're willing to do that, great. But go do it then. But do not sit there and try and pretend, because what's going to end up happening is it's going to show through. And they're going to realize once they come down and start, they're going to realize that you have no idea what you're talking about and you're just BSing your way through it.
And also, here's the thing. You need to establish your place in the ecosystem, right? What is your role in this transaction? One of the agents today was talking about how they said, you know what, you just sent me 42 houses you like, and they're 30 minutes apart in every direction. You have no clue what you want. You take your own ass in your own car and drive these areas and figure out where you want to live and then narrow it down and call me, which I get, okay? Here's the danger. They're going to hit an open house and they're going to be on Zillow tonight and Trulia, and they're going to click information thinking that they're going to hit the listing agent, which we all know they're never getting the listing agent. No. They're getting the person that bought the zip code. So a sharp person on the receiving end of that call the buyer thinks they're the listing agent. They say, oh my gosh, so thank you for calling. Oh, you are looking in West Chase? I live in West Chase. I live right in that neighborhood. Nobody knows this area way better than I do. I'm so glad we just happened. It must be fate, right? Let's go have a cup of coffee. Let me teach you about this marketplace. Let me interview for the job of being your buyer's rep in this marketplace. And let me tell you why. Here's how I run my business, right? And that kind of evolved into a deeper conversation this morning by saying, if I'm going to meet you as a buyer, I believe it's right now is the time to get strong as hell on everybody you're dealing with and saying, Mike, hi, I'm Jeff. I want to interview for the job to be your buyer's agent. Here's how I run my business. And I hope this is a good fit for you guys. If not, I'm happy to find somebody who is. This is how we do. Are you working with a lender? Good. Let me talk to them. If not, here's a couple I work with, and we're going to talk to them. I need to know every ounce of what's going on in your world. I don't care about the details of your finances. I never want to know that, but I need to know what price point and what packages and what loan programs you're good with so I can find the perfect property. I'm going to ask you a ton of questions. We're going to drill down the neighborhoods. You and I are going to go sit in my office or at Starbucks on my iPad, and we're going to go through 180 houses, and we're going to narrow it down with you and your wife to your top 5, right? From 140 to 5. Yes, 5, because the other ones you're not going to like. And then we're going to go look at those 5. I'm going to pick one. We're going to knock out a couple of them. We're going to go back to probably your favorite 1 or 2. We're going to pick the one. I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to beat the crap out of the seller. I'm going to put every penny I can, keep it in your pocket. I'm going to handle all the details of the transaction. I have your back. Would you like to work with me? And he's going to say, yep or nope. And I want to know the answer, yep or nope, right now. Because if you say, well, no, I really kind of just like working with listing agents, and good luck, right? And then I'm going to go find somebody else. Or you say, damn, I had no idea that you did that. And now I have a client because you're actually ready to go buy something. Yep. Right? So you got to get stronger with who you're working with, because if you're honest with yourself right now from an agent, how many real deals do you need this month to create an income that makes you happy, that you deposited checks in your bank account?
For most, 1 or 2.
1 to 3 on average is a good income, right? So if you only need 1 or 3 deals over 30 days, be damn selective with who you're working with, because I want you to say, I love your style, but I'm not ready yet. We haven't known if we got a job transfer yet, but I'll know in a month, right? But at least I've set my value as being your advisor and your negotiator and your agency provider and the guy who's going to beat the crap out of sellers to get you the best deal with the best loan program and know more about this market than anybody else. You're not going anywhere. No. And then if you do, you're still going to say, oh, I'm working with Jeff. Yep. And I want you to go to open houses at that point, because my value is now up here rather than the guy that goes, deep, 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 boop, spit a key out, right? That's not a valuable asset anymore.
Nope.
So it's about getting really, really, really strong with who you're actually dealing with right now. So that is kind of a short, sweet rant, if you will. But guys, the market is shifting in many locations. I know micro markets, I get it, believe me. and some of them are on fire still, and ride that horse as long as you can. But some markets are having a shift and nobody wants to talk about it. So if you have listings and they've been on the market for a few weeks and they're not sold and you don't have an offer, you need to have a hard-ass conversation with the seller right now and say, market shifted, they're rejecting our price, we need to regroup and figure out what this is worth, and we need to decide if you're going to keep it, live in it, rent it, or take it off the market, or adjust your price, right? We have to the positioning on the marketplace is not working. And I don't care what the outcome is, seller, either stay here or reposition or rent it. I don't care, but I need to advise you about your options right now. And you need to do it, because if you get caught, guys, in a market that does totally shift, and all of a sudden 3 more houses come for sale on the street where you have a listing right now, that is a bad situation. And the scary part is most people in this industry do not know what the other market looks like. So they're not going to know it until it's too late. So I'm here to tell you, if your property is not under contract, there's a problem, right? And you need to address it right now and reposition it, or take it off the market and wait, and let them know the ups and the downs. If you're working with buyers, have this conversation, guys, and be serious, because you don't have time to waste right now. Every spare minute you have needs to be getting inventory. Inventory, 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 and then inventory. That's really the name.
One more in there.
Inventory. So that is my shifting market thought for the day.
Yep, I'm with you 100%.
What are your parting thoughts?
Just have transparent conversations, whether it's with your seller or with your buyer. Be transparent, be upfront, be honest, even if it's not always in your best immediate financial interest, because it will be long term. Don't be afraid to have those conversations, and just be honest. And some conversations are harder to have than others, but the reality is, if you're thinking it should be talked about, and don't sit there and play games, because it's not going to do you any good, and it's not going to do them any good either.
Yep. Have the conversation or have it expired. It's basically one of those two things. So that is the wrap for the day.
Yep.
And thank you for watching, and see you guys soon.
See you next week.
Comment any questions you have and give us a like and share. Thanks, guys.